Hey, it's John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and it's The Entrepreneurial You, the show for dedicated and passionate Caribbean entrepreneurs seeking daily inspiration, brought to you by author, speaker, and award-winning entrepreneur Heneka Watkis-Porter. You must be prepared to ignite.
We needed to raise capital, but our experience with local financial institutions was that they were cautious and slow to act, and interest rates were far too high. We had real concerns about financing our business through outside equity investors and the possibility of interference. Could we get a fair valuation for our business? We had our own ideas about the business and its value. Should I go the traditional route of bank financing, or should I try the Jamaica Stock Exchange? So we made a call and experienced transformation of our business through conversations. I'm John Mafood, CEO of Jamaican Teas, and we're listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Give us a call today at 876-967-3271 to begin your transformation through conversation. We want to see your company listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Coming up on this episode of The Entrepreneurial You, depression is real. We talk about a lot of things. We want to sweep a lot of things under the carpet. We don't want to brush on the fact that if you're having a mental health challenge, then you need to get help for your mind, for your brain. We have heart problems and we go to the doctor because our heart is whatever, and there are diseases and you go to the doctor for them, for physical things that you can physically deal with. But when it comes on to our mental health, a lot of us don't want to talk about it. I think I was overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed by being in a very toxic environment with people who are not supposed to be toxic. The new year stands before us like a chapter in a book waiting to be written. Melody Beatty. Happy New Year to you, my awesome peak performer. I trust that the year has started with a bang for you. And if it hasn't started with a bang, I'm sure it will get off to a great start. It is episode 147 of the Entrepreneurial You podcast. I'm your host, Heneka Watkis-Porter. Today, I am doing a solo episode just to talk about the year that was and kind of share with you what I'm focused on for 2020. Now, I am just going to go into what I wrote at the end of 2018 in my journal. And for those who are not on video, it's the LeaderCast journal and you perhaps hear more about LeaderCast later. So it's the LeaderCast journal that I wrote in for the end of 2018 to talk about what I want for 2019, because I usually do that. At the end of the year, I look at all the various aspects of my life and evaluate, make an assessment. Did I, accomplish what I set out to accomplish? What can I do differently? Because, as they say, Einstein says that, if you keep doing the same things over and over, you're going to get the same results. So you have to look and, assess, introspect, see what can be tweaked, what needs keeping, because you don't need to be throwing out what doesn't need to be thrown out, right? So at the end of 2018, I wrote in this journal, and it says, this journal is dedicated to 2019, the most epic year of my life. I will do things I've never done, go places I've never gone, and earn income that I've never before earned. I will go deeper in God, have more meaningful relationships, and avoid people who are toxic. 2019 is the year of discipline, focus, and accomplishment. My year of discipline, focus, and accomplishment. I will give back to those in need and support those who need me. I commit to reading more, focus on growth-oriented people, be more, do more. I will rise even higher with the power of Almighty God. Those are the things I wrote in 2018 for 2019. And I looked at the various areas of my life that I wanted to focus on, which is to be more focused, to improve on my leadership skills, to earn more, and focus on entrepreneurship and also the spiritual aspects of my life. So in the areas of my spirituality, I had set out that I wanted to do a lot of things. For me, it is important to have a relationship with God, and that relationship is important. It's not just about, the thou shall not and the thou shall this and whatever it is, but it's about having that connection and that conviction. So when I go off track, which I do lots of times, not that I'm proud of it, but I do. And when I go off track, my spirituality, that's my center. So I know when I'm off balance, right? Because if you don't have anything to center you, you won't know when you are off balance. And so I know when I go off balance, and I've been off balance quite a bit. But for me, it's important that I'm aware of that, right? So for me, it was about having a one-on-one relationship with God, doing nature walks. I have done a little bit of that. I did a lot of walking, and in my walking time, that's when I really get to connect with God more. Prayer meeting. I was attending my church's prayer meeting. I eventually left that group. Gratitude reflections nightly. Do daily. I have a podcast called My Daily Devotional. I was not updating that as I should, and I had committed to doing that, which didn't work out. So wanted also to write 2 devotionals in 2019. That did not quite happen. Also a gratitude journal, which I started. So I have actually started those, but I'm not finished with them. And my personal devotion time. My personal devotion time got better because surprisingly, God will allow people to speak to you, the most unlikely people to speak to you, even to convict you of some things that you need to be doing. So in this case, it was my husband who noticed that, there are a lot of things that I was doing differently in terms of my relationship with God. I wasn't, as strong in reading the word as I normally would, and so on. And it was when he said these things to me, and we even started reading the Bible together, that's when I recognized that I was really, really going off track. So God sent, a little unlikely voice to speak with me about that. It's unlikely because my husband doesn't even go to church. So yeah, help me pray there, right? Okay, so that was it for my spirituality. In terms of my health, I wanted to put a lid on my weight gain, to do more physical activities. Towards the latter part of the year, I started walking again. I was walking at the beginning. I was really excited. And then, of course, my walking partner left, for another part of the world. So I had to do it on my own. And when you're not too motivated to do something, doing it alone can be uninspiring. So yeah, but I started walking again toward the end of the year because I needed it. I was becoming depressed and anxious about a lot of things. And so it was important for me to walk. And even I went to the doctor and all that. But I think I perhaps talk about that some other time or later in this podcast. Also to take naps throughout the day. That was part of what I wanted to do aloe vera flush. Keep away from sugary drinks. For the most part, some of that was done, but not consistently. So the goal now is to be consistent in a lot of other areas. So personal development as well is another area that I wanted to look at, to be more conversant on current affairs and business affairs, to listen to more podcasts and take action, read 1 book per month. I read a few books. I didn't quite get there. I was to speak at some major events, which I did. I spoke at Wire to Win, the Jamaica Stock Exchange conference that they have at the beginning of the year. I was part of that. Confidence Accelerator with Monique Russell. I did that as well. And I had some other speaking engagements, which I wanted to do, and I got done. Now, I also wanted to learn Spanish, and I put that at the Venezuelan embassy. I was going to apply, and of course, they had to put a hold on everything. Because if you've been following the news, you know what has been happening with Venezuela and the struggles that they've been having. So, of course, it affects all the other programs that they have around the world at embassies and so on. So that I put a hold on that. But in space of that, I started learning French. Started learning French. I wanted to travel to a country that I've never been. I haven't done that yet, though. And to be more organized in my daily activities. So those are the things for my personal development side. Then on the emotional side, to be in a state of mental health, that is enabling for a winning year. Take nature walks was part of my emotional plan as well. Listen to scripture and guided Christian meditation nightly. I didn't do that every night. I listened to a lot of Christian guided meditation. I'm very wary about meditation in general, because I'm aware of spiritual warfare and what it means to allow anything and everything to take space within your spirit. So I'm very mindful that I do Christian guided meditation. There are other meditations that I will listen to, but I always listen with, as they say, with a grain of salt, because I'm very aware and very conscious of my spirituality and what I'm letting inside of me and this auto suggestions that I'm taking. So that's important for me. And it was important emotionally for me to take refresh breaks during my tasks, because I'm somebody who will go on and on and on. And I'll tell you more about the burnout and everything that I suffered later, or thought that I did suffer. Relational, to have a closer relationship with my family and friends, and to start with a few that I would speak to regularly. I get better at it because I'm one that I'm not necessarily, I don't necessarily make the time for conversations and relationships. Not proud of it. It takes work for me and effort, and I have been getting a little better at that. And to spend more time with my husband. Yeah. Intentional time, because yes, he's retired, he's home, he's not working. I am home working, right? So, and when you're as driven and passionate as I am, it does take effort to do all of those things, right? And to connect with a close friend weekly. So those were the things on the relational side. On the social goal that I had, I wanted to build my following on social media, attend business mingles more often, also attend non-business events monthly. Not quite sure I did that every month, but I got some in. And to actively engage in my niche market group, in my social media groups, and so on. I got a little better. So there are things that I really did become better at in those areas. And there's a financial goal, and my financial goal was included stock investments, included avoiding impulse spending, getting increased bookings for my Airbnb that I operate at home, do more podcast workshops, speaking, get more income from speaking, and hosting events, LeaderCast, Women LeaderCast Kingston, coaching, mastermind, books, and so on. So those were the areas that I should have earned from. I didn't do a lot of workshops. I didn't do any workshops in 2019, but I did do a lot of coaching and some mastermind sessions. I did book tours at the LeaderCast events, as I mentioned, and those I earned from. My income fell woefully short of what I wanted to earn. And I know now going into 2020 what I need to, I need to be focused a lot more. My business goals, I had to become known as an expert in my field, is podcasting, starting a business, and finding purpose. I was supposed to write a business book, write for local newspaper. I haven't done that yet. Get slots on local radio show. I want to do that still. Write for Inc. or Entrepreneur. I had pitched for Inc., or one of those, but I didn't hear back. But of course, I'm writing for Thrive Global. and the Leadercast blog, to do some more social engagement in terms of lives, and to do podcasting, which is to appear on other person's podcasts. So those were the things I wanted to accomplish for 2019 in the various areas of my life. And when I look back at it, I can say that I have not accomplished all of those things. But you know what? I am not perturbed by them. I just know that for this year, I'm not necessarily adding any extra goal. I'm looking on 2019 to see what I needed to eliminate from that. Did I push myself, or did I have too ambitious of goals? And assess and to just continue. For in fact, a lot of what I'll be doing this year was already cemented in last year, which is great, right? So for example, I had speaking engagements. I know the top ones, the first one I'm doing for this year is in San Jose in California, and that is during February 5 to 7. And that was already cemented from about May in 2019. So I knew that. And that kind of set the trend for a lot of things. So I said I wanted to write a business book. I started to write one, which was on podcasting. And I have just been given the impetus to complete this book, setting a very ridiculous deadline for myself, because I want the book to be available when I'm speaking at the event, and I'll be speaking at other events. So I just want to quickly highlight what the things were for me that stood out for 2019. And so one of those was the book tour that I did in churches, because I'm part of the United Church in Jamaica and the Cayman Islands. So doing that book tour, I think I went to about 5 or 6 churches or 7. I don't remember how many. And touring with the book, According to His Word, a 31-day devotional for entrepreneurs. And that's co-authored with Dr. Bernard A. Joseph. So that's a pretty, that was a highlight for me, because that, enabled me to do some tour-made sales, sell the book, and it positioned me as a speaker as well. And I highlighted some of the other things that I'm doing. Also had the opportunity, and that was in July of 2019. Also had the opportunity in August, at the beginning of August, to host with Monique Russell, their friend of mine, the Confidence Accelerator. And this was in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, this experience was really, really great. All the women that we touched, the lives that I was able to impact, in addition to, along with Monique, and how inspired I was. It was inspiring, but I was inspired because of, just being in that room with all powerful women who are doing amazing things. I was saying to somebody recently that there was a time when I thought that, women are bitchy and they don't support each other and we don't like each other. And I used to stay away from women friends. I really do. And because I was fed the lie that society has taught us. And I did that. But, I'm looking in retrospect now, and I'm saying to the person that when I look at a woman now, what comes to mind is the fact that she may have gone through myriad of struggles. It could be abuse, whether sexual or physical or emotional. It could be lack, whatever it is, the struggles with family and finances and rearing children and work and, glass ceiling effect and all of these things, right? When I look at a woman now I look at the possibility of that woman have gone through so much, yet still managed to force a smile through all that she's been through. She's a hero. She must be celebrated. And that's my perspective of women. I don't compare myself to other women. I don't see myself better than, less than. And I am unique. I'm beautiful. So too are other women. And I applaud them for their efforts. There are times when you look, and if I say, I don't want to say I've never been jealous of anybody, but I don't dwell on that, oh my gosh, I wish I had their life kind of a thing. It's like, if I feel jealousy, I quickly am able to dismiss it and to turn that into another energy and to really self-check and to get back to the place and look, do you focus on you? You know, I try not to get caught up with social media. So I'm not one of those who will readily go check out somebody's profile just to see what they're up to kind of a thing. Like, I don't do that. If you have something and it comes in my face and I see it, fine. But I'm not one, because those are, you know, the little things that you do that can lead to jealousy and you're not loving your life and all of that. So I avoid those things. So again, the Confidence Accelerator with all those amazing, powerful women. And we had some very emotional moments in there where we were just sharing stories and stuff. And, you know, people are being healed. Charting the podcast charts, topping podcast charts was a major thing for me as well. I know in Jamaica, in some categories, business entrepreneurship, in Uganda, in St. Kitts, and other charts as well. So I give gratitude. I express gratitude for being able to be in that position as it relates to my podcast. Then I attended Podcast Movement, another highlight for me. Podcast Movement is the best community for podcasters. It's the first podcasting event I've been to since I started podcasting, and the camaraderie, the love that I felt from the community, you know, it was nice. I even got a highlight in the promo reel that they did after the event. So that little recap kind of a thing, whatever it's called, promo reel, I don't know. And then I served at camp. I'm not sharing these things necessarily in any order, because they didn't happen in the order that I'm talking about them. I'm just talking about them as my highlights. Part of the thing for me why serving at camp is so important is because I grew up in the United Church in Jamaica and the Cayman Islands. And camp for me has always been something that even when I deviated from my roots in terms of my Christian roots, one thing that in my mind kept me grounded was the memory of just going up and having that experience as a camper, what that meant for me. And I find it to be just, you know, such a thrill to give back. So I directed I was a co-director at the junior ages 11 to 13. I've never worked with that age group before, and I was kind of apprehensive about it. But I found it to be so super nice dealing with these youngsters, you know, their authenticity, their imagination. I love that age group. And that's the age group I want to keep working with, right? So I talked about the book tour, the Confidence Accelerator podcast movement, charting podcast, talk about camp. Then, of course, coming backtrack a bit, out of the Confidence Accelerator, we did the Confidence Express Mastermind, and that was amazing too, with some amazing women. And following that, I started doing my own podcast, which is the Goal Accelerator. Did I say podcast? Mastermind. The Goal Accelerator Mastermind, and cohort January to March will start this evening. Yeah. So just as you're hearing this live, well, not live, but hearing this recording, the mastermind will be on. It will begin with some amazing folks. I can't wait to hear what they have planned for 2020 and help them crush their goals. Now, how can I not talk about the LeaderCast events? Now, I started hosting LeaderCast events since 2018. And in May and October, there's LeaderCast Live and LeaderCast Women, respectively. So that was held in 2018. Then there is, in 2019, similarly, May and October, LeaderCast Live and LeaderCast Women. And they were overwhelmingly successful, right? And I give gratitude to all the sponsors, all the stakeholders, all the partners, the volunteers, every single person that made it what it was, you know. Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith for Leader Cast Women, for example, was our guest speaker. And she was just off the chain, you know. I really loved how she just warm up to us, and everybody, you know, it was a fun time, right? Oh, and coming out of that, I did gain a scholarship, yes, to Brunel University to do an executive women's MBA. Yay! No, that was super sweet, because during the LeaderCast women event, while we had a break, so LeaderCast is a streamed event, as you perhaps know. It's happening in Atlanta, Georgia, but it's streamed around the world. And so I've been streaming for Jamaica, as I said, since 2018. So during LeaderCast Women, I went outside to do an interview with the Jamaica Information Service. When I got back inside the room erupted with cheers and applauses, and I had no idea what that was about. And I kept asking, looking around, like, what's going on? And I said, oh, you got the scholarship. Yes, it was announced from the LeaderCast stage that, yeah, in Atlanta, that Heneka Watkis-Porter won the scholarship. Yay! So that it will take me to Shanghai and Brooklyn and another place, I think Orlando in the US. So, but I'm not taking up the scholarship just yet. There are some other things that I need to do before I take up the scholarship. And it really wasn't a full scholarship, to be honest with you. It was, I need to find the rest of the money. Yeah, I need to find the rest of the money to take that up. But I don't have it as my priority right now. But the space is there, the slot is there, and I've deferred it. So I'll tell you more about that. So yeah, those are my highlights for 2019. Those are high points. I did have some very, 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 very low points, and I did allude to those earlier, or allude to one of them, is that I think I was on the verge, if not being burnt out. And I had to make a more conscious decision to just pull back, right? I mean, I was feeling depressed, I was feeling anxious, crying for no apparent reason, although there are myriad of reasons that I think made me cry. It was just a rough patch that I have been going through. And I look now and I'm looking at my smile and I'm hearing myself talk. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, I can't believe that I went through that moment. And it's depression is real. We talk about a lot of things. But we want to sweep a lot of things under the carpet. We don't want to brush on the fact that if you're having a mental health challenge, then you need to get help for your mind, for your brain, right? We have heart problems and we go to the doctor because our heart is whatever, and there are diseases and you go to the doctor for them, for physical things that you can physically deal with. But when it comes on to our mental health, a lot of us don't want to talk about it. I think I was overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed by being in a very toxic environment with people who are not supposed to be toxic. But then again, when you put it into perspective, that's it, because the church is filled with a lot of toxicity, because a lot of broken people are there, and too many people decide that, oh, I'm just going to pray. I'm sorry. As a firm believer as I am in prayer, you can't just pray and do nothing. I said it, yeah. The Bible tells me that faith without works is dead. And it means that you have to put things into action. And so when you see people just have this, oh, I'll pray about it mentality, I just kind of say, you're lazy, you're damn lazy, pretty much. And so I was in a space leading a group of people that, and yeah, I take responsibility for being very impatient. I take responsibility for sometimes wanting to have my way, because with my experience, and if you've asked me to lead something, you got to trust me to lead, because you asked me to lead because you believe I'm capable. And it's not to say that I will not listen to anybody else, but there are some basic principles and basic values that I have that it doesn't matter what the circumstance, I'm not going to bend on them. I'm not going to bend. And so for a while, I've allowed myself to, because I was trying to be patient and, you know, and do what I think God wanted me to do. And after a while, it just got too much. Like there was just too much of a disconnect. And that was a toxic environment for me emotionally and spiritually, more emotionally than anything else, because when I'm into something, I'm into it. So I was emotionally vested and you're going hard and it's like you're pulling in opposite direction. So that for me was it. I also went through that period because financially I wasn't earning as much as I wanted to earn. And, you know, when you have your own business and you need to have certain stability and it becomes so unpredictable, that can be a bit off-putting sometimes. So there was that. There was relationship issues at times, misunderstanding with partner. And so everything, it was just not one thing. It was a myriad of things that came together. I felt so drained that towards the end of the year, I felt like towards the end of October, like, no, I had to go on a sabbatical. And so in as much as I could, so from November to December, I had like a go slow period where I was doing stuff, but was just taking my time little by little to do the things I needed to get done, trying to muster up some energy. So going through that very dark period, and in that moment when I wasn't doing anything or doing as much as I normally would, that's when I found that I was feeling things. So I'm usually on the go and I just deal with things as they come. So I don't allow myself that space emotionally to deal and to deal with stuff, feel them, address them, move on. No. And so in that space, in that period when I was hardly doing anything, it's when I recognized how deeply depressed I was and how anxious I was. And in that moment, like I remember for days, I got up and I was just crying for no reason or for every reason. I don't know. Just crying and just going through that rough time. Right? That dark spot. Everything seemed dark to me. But the one thing that has always kept me is that, for I know my Redeemer lives. I know my Redeemer lives. And so in spite of who I am, in spite of the stubborn person that I am, in spite of myself, in spite of my insecurities, in spite of all my flaws, I'm perfect. I'm perfect. So I know that. I get that. And that is why, for me, it is important I know who I am. Because there are times I don't feel like who I am. And I can't rely on my feelings to determine that for me. Because my feelings lie. My feelings will tell me one thing when the reality is certainly another. And so I don't rely on my feelings to know who I am, or today I feel great, right? And it doesn't mean that, and I'll tell you this, you know, and whoever, you know, let me share this with you. One of the things, I got to the place of just being, I tell you, I can't, you know, dark, I can't sleep. I wasn't sleeping well at all. Like I would it would appear months without sleep, like chronically insomniac, right? And I wasn't sleeping. I remember going to the doctor, getting prescription drugs. I mean, it's so strong. Like even it started helping me for the first couple of nights, and that's it. It helped. And after a while, I just get back to square one. Nothing was helping me. So that was, all of that too. I wasn't sleeping. I was anxious. Like just so many different things happening. And then, yes, I decided to try marijuana tea. Oh my gosh. Yes. It's like it brought my body back into balance. Yeah. It brought my body back into balance. And so while I will not advocate for ganja, weed, marijuana, whatever you call it, for recreational purposes. I am a huge advocate right now for medicinal purposes, because right now it's the thing that has helped me to kind of put some balance back. I'm not totally cured from my insomnia, because I do suffer severe, and apparently a lot of type A personalities do experience that. So those were my dark moments, and I share my high points. I also share my low points with you as well, because it's important. I am not about this life of projecting an image that I'm not. Who you see, who you hear is exactly who I am. I'm a child of the Most High God, have a relationship with Jesus Christ, but I'm imperfect, but perfect in all of that, regardless, right? I know who I am. I know that I don't always make the right choices. I know that I don't always make the right decisions, but there is something guiding me. There's a compass that is guiding me from within, and my compass is Jesus Christ, guided by the Holy Spirit. And yes, I grieve the Holy Spirit a lot of times. Not proud about it. It is my journey. It is my story. It is who I am, right? And while I aspire to be all this great person, I recognize my limitations, and I understand that I'm not defined by them. I'm not defined by a moment in time when I make a lapse. I may lapse into something that is not right. I'm not defined by the moments when I even make a right decision. I'm not defined by any of those. I'm defined by who I am, which is a child of the Most High God, created to do amazing stuff, created to impact lives on this earth, and that's what I'm doing. So I'm not distracted by the noise that is going on social media and whose profile is this and whose profile is that. Kudos to the people doing great things. Those who are yet to find out what they are supposed to do, in the fullness of time, it will happen. And so I pray that I will give people grace to grow, because I can be very impatient in some areas, right? And I want to give people grace to grow. So now, as I looked at my highs, my lows for 2019, I just want to quickly share some of the things that I want to do for 2020 vision. Like I said earlier, some of the things that I will be doing for this year will hinge a lot on what happened in 2019. I just trying to, the things that there were gaps, fill in those gaps, and do a lot more speaking and traveling. My thing is I want to speak, travel, and experience the world. I don't want to put a lot more stuff in than what I had last year. I just want to build on those and keep being awesome, because I know I'm awesome, right? Do you believe I'm awesome, my peak performer? Yes, I know you believe I'm awesome. Just as I believe that you're awesome, I know that you're awesome. I know that you're God's gift to mankind, and I hope you know that, right? So it's important. LeaderCast Kingston is going to happen. There is some information I have to share, but I can't share it just yet. Great stuff that will be happening. I can't share it yet. Cannot. Although I want to, but I can't. Just bear with me. Stay tuned. Some more. I'll share it on the podcast as well. So that's it. So I'll go back to looking at my business goals, my financial goals, my mental health, which is very important. And let me tell you why I go back to mental health, because there was a point in time, unbeknownst to me, where my mother, my cousin, and myself were on the same prescription drug. It's for sleep and anxiety and all of those things, right? Xanax. It revealed many years after, when we were having a conversation, and realized the three of us were on that thing. Fast track to 2019, when I'm having another conversation with my mom about the sleep and stuff, because she does have that challenge too. It's not as bad. It has improved significantly, but recently she faced it where she had to go to the doctor, and they gave her, get this, a very strong prescription drug. She took the drug, and she said, boy, from the very first night she took it, it just, in no time, she fell asleep. And she said, maybe I need to try that. So I asked her to tell me the name of the drug. When she told me the name of the drug, my jaw dropped, because it was a very, very same drug that I was prescribed, which, yes, it helped me initially. But then after a while, it was no longer helping me. The point I'm making is that mental health issues are not necessarily and always, as Christianese like to say, demon possession. No, it is a real challenge. Like you have cancer, you have heart challenge, you have blood pressure problem, whatever it is. Similarly, mental health issues, they are real. They are not always from the devil, though we know some of those mental things are off, because the Bible tells me that I wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, spiritual wickedness in high places, powers of darkness, all of that stuff. It is real. There's a wrestle between good and evil, darkness and light, right? Flesh and the spirit. There's that battle. As somebody who's in tune with my spirituality, I know that. However, but too many times, and this is why I kind of digress a lot from and deviate a lot from what is being taught in church and so on, because and again, this could be another episode, and this is an entrepreneur, you guys. I'm so sorry. I'm going into all these areas, but I'm telling you about the things that that affect me. And right. So it is a real challenge. It is a real issue. It is not something to be looked at as demon possession, evil, or whatever. When you're having mental issues, you need to deal with those. It is very, very important, right? And when you've had the kind of struggles that I've had, and thankfully, because of my relationship with Jesus, I'm an overcomer. And this is what it is for me. I have come out of a lot of these things unscathed, though I have the scars to prove them, right? I have the scars, but I've been healed. And it doesn't mean that the scars are not there. And part of being scarred is that you will have these issues, like the mental challenges. You will face them. You will sometimes reflect and it's not that you've not been healed, but these are the scars, and they will cause anxious moments too. So whatever it is, I'm not a psychologist, and I always try to psychoanalyze and yada, yada, yada. But it is important, very important, that you take your mental health very seriously. Do what needs to be done, whether you need to meditate, you need to pray, you need to walk, you need to sing, you need to have, build stronger relationships, whatever it is that needs to happen, do it. And sometimes you're going to be, whatever decision you make, you're going to be misunderstood by those around you. And I say, go where you are celebrated and stay there and find your tribe and be in tune with them, and they support you, you support them, that kind of a thing. So with that said, I think I'm going to close right here. It's been a lot. I've been talking a lot. Yes, if you leave me with a microphone, me alone, then we could go on and on and on. But like I said, this is just my year in review, talking about the challenges that I've had, talking about the strengths, talking about the wins, and the expectations going forward. I am looking forward to, did I tell you? I'm looking forward to launching my new book. It's called Podcast Power, the Quick Start Guide to Launching and Leveling Up Your Brand, right? So it's going to be published in time for my speaking engagements in February to March in the US, and there'll be others as well. So stay tuned for that. You'll learn more about how you can access the book. Get your own copy. I'm so excited about podcasting and what you can, do for a brand and so on. I'm living proof of that and been there, done that, and I have the book to prove it. So, the book is about to be launched. So thank you so much for supporting me and supporting this podcast, for listening to me, for tuning in. It's really important that you do. I thank you. I value your time. I thank you very, very much. Value your time for doing it. Value you for doing it, because you could be doing something else. I know the opportunity cost, right? You listen to me, you're not listening to somebody else. Yeah, that's how life is. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. So until next time, of course, I'm Heneka Watkis-Porter, and I would love to invite you just to send me a message. Just visit my website, henekawatkisporter.com. Send me a message that, however you want me to help you, whether it's be part of my mastermind, coaching group that we have, whether it's one-on-one coaching, whether it is that you want my books or want me to speak at your next event. Whatever it is that you want, let me hear from you. I love hearing from you. So when you go to henekawatkis.com, you can send me a WhatsApp message which comes directly to my phone. Until next time, remember, you were born to win, but to be a winner, you must plan to win, prepare to win, and expect to win. Walk good.